Hi, welcome to another episode of On Transit, the TV show On Transit that takes place on transit.
This episode of On Transit remixes audio from interviews and earlier episodes.
Come take me home again. I'm longing for the night of that old cottage door once more. Home folks there and sweet smiles everywhere. And every day the fact is out I want cornbread lashes, choo-choo train. Just ramble down your track. And I don't care if you don't ever ramble back. I'm there, paid to see. That's where I long to be. So come and take me home again, choo-choo train.
Living my entire adult life in Minneapolis without a car, I'm not sure I ever felt like a first-class citizen until now. Every year prior to this year, I felt the burning need to travel to some other place that had rail transit just to feel some dignity in my transportation. When the Hiawatha Line opened last year, it was the first time I think that I truly felt like a citizen of Minneapolis. The train still thrills me like that every time I see it go by.
I'm not much of a person to start conversations. I'm kind of shy. I'm kind of a mind my own business kind of person, but I'm a great eavesdropper. I've heard some touching things and a few disgusting things.
Here it is, actual in-person light rail train.
Finally, we're gonna have some transit, just like a real city.
It's really great to be here.
If you're in a city like Paris or Vienna, they've got really good transit systems, and it's through using those that I've come to realize how easy and nice it can be getting around on a great transit system, whether that's a light rail or a streetcar.
Even though I had to wait an hour to get on, we're making history, and the wait doesn't matter.
I mean, I just walked 3 blocks to stand in line to go on the light rail. That's pretty exciting.
We need to think about how we're living and live in a different way than we have been living. Otherwise, there won't be anything left for those that are here after we're gone.
I'd say I'm ecstatic right now. Could hardly ask for better weather, hardly ask for a better system, and hardly ask for more riders.
Yeah, I wish they would have had it a long time ago.
I think people have waited 20 years for this line to be built and to open, and there was such a high level of excitement that it's not just an idea anymore. It's really a train that you can ride.
And we carried 96,000 passengers opening weekend.
Is this a dream? Is this reality? Is this really happening? I mean, we've been waiting for so long for something like this, and we're so far behind a lot of the other cities of comparable size.
They were coming and protesting and saying, why on earth are you building this thing? It's going to be a nightmare. Construction's going to be difficult. No one's going to ever ride it.
And listening to all the naysayers and sort of like, oh, just never mind. It worked out.
A lot of the people who were protesting Highway 55 came on board with light rail, and I think it's because we took an approach that said we're not going to do this to people, we're going to do it with people.
People are going to start saying, oh, wait a minute, where's our line? That worked so good. When do we get ours?
We can't build enough. You could put cement in every place that there was available, and you still couldn't build enough highways because there's always going to be more people driving.
I, together with a fellow named Ken Fletcher, introduced the idea of light rail transit on Hiawatha Avenue to the Hiawatha Avenue Citizen Design Study Group in April 28th of 1975. For a while, I didn't think I was going to live long enough to see it.
And when my dear friend Kate asked me what I wanted to do, I said, I want to take you on the train. Ride up and down on the train. So that's what we're doing. And we're going to get out at the stops and have food at the Cardinal and food at Baja Riverside and just have a great time on the train.
I love to watch people. I used to be a theatrical costumer. I notice what people are wearing for the roles they play in life. People are always costumed for the roles they play in life, whether they know it or not. I like to look out the window. There's always something to see. Just watching people, listening to people. Sometimes things are very funny. You get a real sense of the neighborhood you're traveling in.
I have a vision for a totally integrated transportation system for this metropolitan area within, 10 years maybe. Trains all over the place, subways, buses, few cars around maybe, but not many.
It seems like an obvious thing because, it's one less car.
It seems to me that the more sensible approach and the more humanistic approach to getting around in the world is through public transit. I mean, for one thing, it gets you in touch with people.
And the bus really has become, our second car, and sometimes our only car. Sometimes the car just sits, and it's been very liberating.
And light rail has just added a wonderful new dimension, and I'm glad it's here because it saves the air for the children. It saves the economy for housing. It allows me to not have to pay for gas and insurance and tires, and I get to have more of a life without having to
love
have
it. It takes me downtown in about 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. So really, I mean, I can't believe how quick I sort of wish it was longer so I could read the paper more or something.
Metro Transit's Hiawatha Line.
And here we are
This
today.
is a southbound train to Fort Snelling Station.
Which is a remarkable achievement, all the things we've been through. As you can hear, there were roadblocks where one would never expect.
Mass transit costs so much less than having a car and having to pay for a car and all the related costs. So even for somebody that has the money, they can save a lot and take the bus or take the train and get to where they need to be.
It's interesting, and occasionally I've talked to people on transit. A lot of interesting things happen when you're waiting for transit too.
And light rail is really clean. It's electrically run.
There's no engine running in the train that produces exhaust. There's no fuel directly into the train that causes pollution. All we've got is just the overhead wire above us, and the only pollution that really comes is at the location of where the electricity is made, and that sort of point source pollution is much less environmentally damaging than having an exhaust pipe traveling all around the Twin Cities all day long. It's a very smooth ride. It feels like we're actually a true big city. The Hiawatha Line isn't a system yet. Minneapolis is nowhere near to having a functioning mass transit system. Take Washington, D.C., for example. They've got an underground or tube or metro, whatever you want to call it. The Twin Cities are certainly as large an area. We don't have anything like that. We've got one line.
As much as politicians say all trains are outdated, you talk to people and everybody says, well, if I had a train that went to my neighborhood, I'd ride it every day, but if you give them that same option with the bus, they're like, well...
I guess I really didn't have that much of a, like a compulsion or something that I needed a car. I had my bicycle, I could walk, all of that kind of stuff. So I just kind of settled for public transportation. And it certainly is cheaper than a car.
I used to work at Marshall Fields. Quite a few people tried to save my soul as I was waiting for the bus, but I declined. And also, do you have a cigarette or do you have a quarter? And it didn't bother me because I'm not afraid to say no.
It just gives you that whole time, kind of a easing yourself into the day after you get up in the morning and at home, catching your bus, and then having that time interval until when you reported for work.
One thing different about the trains than buses is trains stop at every station. And you don't have to ring a bell, they automatically stop at every station, but they're time stops. They're only there so long to stay on schedule. So when the train stops, you don't have to wave it down or anything. It will stop at your station. Again, if the door is open, get on. If not, press the blue button and get on. When it gets to the rail station you want to get off, you simply get up. Again, if the door doesn't open, there's a button there, blue button on the door, push that and the door will open to let you off.
I feel that it certainly has more of a calming effect because you don't have to be the one trying to weave in and out of traffic. I do feel for the drivers that it has to be such a huge job or a lot of stress for them.
Instinctively, and it's hard for me to put my finger on exactly why, people love riding a streetcar as opposed to a bus. It's just a little easier, it's more fun, you've got more of a certainty you're going to arrive at your destination. For that reason, streetcars, where they've been put in recently in large cities, have done very well.
One of the
public just
very
they
easy
love it.
things about a train is it follows a distinct route. It's not gonna. It's on the tracks. It can't turn off. So if you get on the train, it stops at a series of stations. It gets to the end of the line. It goes right back from where it came from. So you never have to worry about, where's the train going to go? Is this train going the same place as the train I took last week? It'll always follow the same route.
Transit means a lot for me. I don't drive, and so I ride the bus all the time. Wherever I want to go, I take the bus. I take the bus quite
I
a
like
bit.
to watch people getting on and off.
I met my husband on the bus. I was living in South Minneapolis, and I changed my hours for work, and my husband then, he wasn't my husband then, but my husband changed his hours too, and so then we started riding the same bus. One time we were just getting ready to go over to the bus, and he proposed to me. So so the bus was kind of an important thing in that.
Snow and melting and freezing and ice creation, the rail transit has a fairly strong advantage, a lot more leeway of being able of stable operation compared to buses or cars. And this particular vehicle has its own snow plow built right in above the track, so it can clear the tracks on its own. They don't have to use separate plows to clear
There's
the
so
track.
many more riders than what they had expected, which is just
We have people coming from downtown in groups. They're trying out new places. It's helping everyone. So the light rail is just absolutely awesome. It's fabulous.
I talked
Totally
to a
fabulous.
person today who was driving, and now he said he's so happy that he said, I don't swear near as much as I used to. And I said, well, and he said because he's walking 4 blocks and taking the rail.
I mean, who would have ever thought that you could be taking a train downtown in less than 10 minutes? I think that just
It
rocks.
goes pretty fast. Sometimes when it beeps, it's really loud, and people go off and on.
Because as soon as we
And
cut the
that's all.
ribbon, I have my boarding pass, I have a 1 o'clock flight, and I'm taking the train to the airport.
One of the few light rail lines in the country that actually has attractions at both ends. Many lines run from the suburbs into the city, and there's very little reason for people to go back out during the day. So we expect to see a lot of traffic on this line.
The LRT, and a person in a wheelchair gets on just like anybody else.
Really, it's just sunk in that the design and construction's over, and we've handed it off. It's almost bittersweet. The other overwhelming thought is how much people seem to like it.
It's great to see Minneapolis arrive on the map to having a modern system, and it's a big step forward for us for decreasing congestion and moving people around in a more environmentally sound way.
I guess it's light rail train, but
it's a train,
it's
yeah.
really nice. And all the people who are coming in these rides here on opening day, and the people are really enthusiastic with the system.
All the trains have been packed, and they've done an excellent job with getting people, moving the masses onto the trains, and the waits have not been very long at all.
We're just very excited to be out here with our boys. Yeah, they're just thrilled to have a train, nearby.
I love riding on the LRT with my granddaughter. Right after it opened, we went downtown and had ice cream, expensive ice cream downtown, and got right back on. She doesn't like to shop, which is odd and good for an 11-year-old.
And by the time I was 10, my 8-year-old brother and I had
I've traveled on all 456 route miles of subways and elevateds in New York City. And ever since then, I've been a transit advocate, trying to do everything I can to make the bus system and the rail systems better.
First of all, it's quiet and it's very attractive. It moves swiftly enough for me. I like riding with the people on it. I just think it's a real community kind of thing.
The steel wheel on the steel rail is the cheapest way of moving bulk commodities. If you get enough people together, you've got a bulk commodity, and it's the easiest way of moving people around.
A lot of money is going into maintaining our freeway system, and the cost of the personal automobile for every single trip is not working too well right now. For the long term.
Anybody who was riding the Hiawatha Corridor light rail line 2 weeks ago during our region's first real blizzard knows that it really had no problems at all, and you could just watch the cars in virtual gridlock on the freeway as you got off the train.
Streetcars and light rail provide a very, very comfortable option, preferable to using the personal car, not just because of congestion and traffic, but because there's a safety factor. The automobile is about 97 times more deadly than streetcars or light rail, statistically.
First of all, it's reliable. It requires a dedicated right-of-way, and nobody's going to just throw a switch and turn it off tomorrow. Unlike bus transportation, which can be cut off overnight by just not running the buses, when people have the public investment in rail transportation, they're not going to think as quickly or seriously about abandoning the service, especially having learned their lesson once.
The more support we have, the more we will be able to expand into other areas, and I think that would be great for the whole community.
I think the legislature will see that a lot of people support this, the need for alternative transportation.
We're having almost twice as many people ride our train as we predicted, which is a wonderful problem to have. You can always add more trains, and to have too many people riding or have a very excited customer base, that's a very good thing.
This just kind of drives home the point that people will ride good transit when they have the opportunity to do so.
That's what they've been doing about the Hiawatha Line and rail until it's open. They were sort of making up stories about it, about why it wouldn't work and how people wouldn't react positively to it and how it'd be a loser. The fact is, you've got to get over those bumps in the road. You've got to stay optimistic, have a vision.
Nobody else has done anything like this, and there will never be another project just like this. And that's something my kids can point out to their friends in the future. My dad built that system.
I garden in the Korean Peace Garden, which is visible just as you, right after you get on at the Franklin station, if you remember to look. And so it was pleasurable to look over into the Peace Garden and see the Koreans and maybe a friend of mine working in the garden.
A lot of people are pretty jealous that it's going to other people and not to them yet. They want it to come south of the river. They want it to come to St. Paul. They want it all over the place. They're really liking it.
When people actually try transit, guess what? They love it. If they don't try it, they're kind of scared. The more buses and the more light rail and the more commuter rail we have, the easier it's going to be for me to get around when I'm 80 and hopefully 90 years old.
And we're seeing a lot of new customers take transit because of the Hiawatha Line.
But like you were saying about St. Paul, they do need to expand it over there.
Yeah, St. Paul do.
You know, going that way also by, Minneapolis and St. Paul being twin cities.
This is the beginning of the creation of a system.
We cannot build ourselves out of traffic jams with more highways. We need another type of transportation between those two metropolitan areas. With the light rail line, we're starting to become a world-class city. And I think transit will help us achieve that world-class status.
The many scenes of the city, there's some places where you can look off into the distant hills and see the branches of trees. I haven't, since it's only been open since December, I haven't seen how beautiful it's going to look in the spring and in the fall, but I like bare trees. They're kind of hazy in the distance. There's a great anti-war statement in watching the acres of tombstones around Fort Snelling. I had never been to Fort Snelling Cemetery. I thought, oh my God, that's it. And it just goes on and on and on. The rows that look diagonal from one way, they look straight from another, but there are hundreds and thousands of them.
We cannot build our way out of this with roads. Every time they build a road, what happens is by the time the road's done, it's already overcrowded. Try the bus, try the train, try getting around the Twin Cities without a car for a while.
When you have an issue like this where you're trying to turn the corner, patience and tenacity is necessary.
Another benefit of transit, once again, is that you engage with people. You see your neighbors. You can talk to Fred down the street or Jamal down the block, and you begin to build relationships.
It's very interesting going through tunnels, going under the airport. I love riding the subway in New York. I've always been in a good mood when I did, because I've always been on a vacation with my loved ones, but I just love the sounds of the names of the streets.
If you listen to the David Stroms of the world, they're going to tell you that transit has nothing to do with relieving congestion. And can we relieve congestion? That's a big question. I don't know if we can. But you know what? If we're not willing to try, we'll never know. You know, people that want to ride the train in from Minnetonka, give them a train to ride in. You know, by God, give them a train. And the more people that have a good experience on light rail or commuter rail or whatever it is, ridership's going to continue to grow.
Locally, conservative people always reference the cost of putting this in increased from $400 million to $715 million. But by comparison, 394 costs about $800 million to build, and we're spending another $300 million to improve it or redesign it, and I don't even think there's an equivalent corresponding sidewalk to 394. We spend billions of dollars in our roads and highways here locally, and the $715 million is cost of the Hiawatha Light Rail is really a small bargain, a very, very small portion compared to what we're subsidizing in other areas, both from state money and federal money.
And unless the East Metro is connected, we're going to be like the town in the west where the train didn't stop. When people begin to live and work and move in this new way, and we're not connected, we die.
And there's just no question. We have to start to diversify our transportation system in the state of Minnesota, not just on the North Star Line. The speakers were right. This is only one step. Now we've got to connect with St. Paul. Now we got to get down to Eden Prairie. Now we got to get down to Hastings. This is a start, but we have to. We know we can't pour enough concrete to solve the problems. It's got to be a multimodal transportation system.
Come take me home again. I'm longing for the sight of that old cottage door once more. Home folks there and sweet smiles everywhere. And every day the fact is out I want cornbread lasses, choo-choo train. Just ramble down your track, and I don't care if you don't ever ramble back. I'm there, can't you see? That's where I long to be. So come and take me home again, choo-choo train. I left my old home sweet home a million years ago. I've been wandering around this world a century or so. Now there's no better place on earth beneath the sun, I know. It's time that I was getting back. Come on, conductor, let's go. Choo-choo train, come take me home again. I'm longing for the sight of that old cottage door once more. Home folks there and sweet smiles everywhere. And every day the path is out I want cornbread lasses, choo-choo train. Just ramble down your track, and I don't care if you don't ever ramble back from there. Can't you see? That's where I long to be. So come and take me home again, choo-choo train. gonna have a pair of loving arms around me. That giving I've been missing. My love needs reimbursed, and thought I was collecting for some engineer. Don't put your average on. It's just a moment now till we'll be off and gone, long gone. Can't you see? That's where I long to be. So come and take me home again to Choo-Choo Train.